win, I'm telling you guys, they are going to do it. Now, finally, let's wrap up with NA West. Monster D-Face, give us your take.
I'd be crazy not to mention the trio, Scented, Rex, and Edgy, because they've been the most but I think another trio that can give them a run for their money is going to be Arkham, Falconer, and Vinny. And Falconer, by the way, the only free agent on this team here in the NA West, at the top of the board, still dominating. So I would love to see them come through and pull it big for the NA West region.
Some pretty bold predictions made across the board from everyone. Sundown, Shy Wager, Monster D-Face, thank you guys so much for hanging out. And for everyone at home, don't forget, tune in this weekend for the FNCS Finals, September 20th through the 22nd. You can watch at Fortnite.com/watch. And of course, guys, we'll see you on the Battle Bus.
Beep, beep.
Fortnite fam, we've missed you guys so much, and now we are here for the grand finals of the Fortnite Champion Series. Now, you guys know who I am. I'm Zeke. But let's introduce the crew that will be hanging out all weekend long. On the left of me, you've got Sundown, the luscious locks, T-posing on everyone with a nice little dab. In the back, you've got Dr. Lupo. He recently won an award for being an incredible human being. And to his right, you've got Monster D-Face, incredible content creator, and people still confuse us for some reason. I'm not sure why. Up in front, you've got Shy Wager, the big man with even bigger plans. He's a 10 out of 10, and by the end of the stream, he'll be eating a cup of mayonnaise. Now, Fortnite fam, I know you guys are ready to get into all of the action, but first, we should probably get all these new faces to the broadcast up to speed on how the broadcast is going to be run. Let's start with the broadcast schedule. So right now, we're going to be hopping into Europe during one of the heats going on right now. Later on, we'll take a look at some of the replays from Middle East that happened this morning with a live look in at Brazil after that. And then we'll wrap the day with NA East. Now, how are these guys racking up their points? Let me get you up to speed on that. So first off, 9th through 12th will get you 3 points. Placing between 5th and 8th is 6. Third and fourth is 9 points. Second place is 12 points. And that victory royale is worth 15, with every elimination being 1 point. Now, the prize pool across the FNCS has been $10 million. And here is a prize distribution for this weekend. A lot of money to be divvied out. And of course, the money is great, but being able to be crowned the first ever season champions across all regions is an even better feat. Now, before hopping into the games, we made some predictions earlier on in the week for Europe. There is one among us that is an opinion, and that's fine. We'll get there. But Sundown, why don't you tell us about our predictions from Europe?
So I'll talk about our predictions since the rest of us decided that, we had a brain and were able to look at what went on in the past 5 weeks. And Mitra, Mongo, and Benji just wiped the floor with the rest of the region. They averaged a 1.4 placement, 3 wins, 2 second places. I know I've always harped on it, but it took literally 4 really, really bad games in both of those weeks for them to get barely edged out into second place. And any other time they've played their game, they've been on top. But Shy, it seems like you went a different direction.
Well, I understand they got their high placements, they're in their high castle, but personally, I see a revolution coming. I predict the upset, Stompy Chicken and Aqua actually taking it all home at the end of the grand finals. They're amazing, but I think they won't have what it takes ultimately, and Aqua will steal the race at the very end.
Well, we'll have to see how things pan out for these trios. Now, like I said earlier, by the end of the broadcast, Shy will be eating a cup of mayonnaise if MMB wins out in Europe. So we'll have to see if that pans out for everyone. Now, guys, we are going to be jumping into game number 2 of heat number 1 in Europe. We're going to be jumping right into all the action. And to do so, we've got Monster D-Face, Dr. Lupo. Gentlemen, take it away.
Zeke, thank you very much. For those that are confused, Shy went on Twitter and made a bet and said if the 3 that we've seen them just absolutely destroy thus far, if they do in fact win, then he will eat not a cup, an entire jar of mayonnaise on stream. And to be quite honest with you, I think that might be some of the best content that I've seen on the internet in quite a while. Now, going into Europe here, like I said, game 2, it's already rolling right now.
That's
Monster,
it.
before we jump right into it, what do you think? How do you think things are going to play out today?
I think my stomach hurts. I'm going to have to sit down and let this one kind of digest as we jump into these games. But let's go ahead and hop right in. It's Europe. They're trying to get to the grand finals. There's going to be a lot of action unfolding today, Doc Lupo.
Lo and behold, 95 players remaining. Only one trio in whole has gone down. And we're jumping right into retail with the trio themselves, Benji, Mongrel, and Mitro. Honestly, some of the most dominant players in solos and duos, and now they're trioed up.
That's right.
And crazy kitted already. A gold RPG.
That's
right
literally what I want to touch on right there.
Look,
the retail row loot.
Look at the inventory.
Sets them up for success. You're looking at straight up legendary inventory. And the best of the best, what do they choose? Shield bubbles. Shield bubbles, one of the new items introduced to Fortnite, and it's a great item, right? It's so versatile. So you're going to see shockwaves, you're going to see launch pads, campfires, and even with the recent adjustment to the loot, the way it's divvied out here in retail, it's still so prominent in the loadouts. You're going to see the difference. And just look at the map on the side. Basically no one around them to contest.
It's wild to think. So I'm going to say it, and I'm pretty sure everyone is already thinking it, as we've seen them play over the course of the qualifiers for this event. If no one contests retail, or it's lightly contested, let's say somebody drops black tops and they take Resi side, or however it's split.
I can tell you what that means.
It
means Shayo is 100%
eating the mayonnaise.
Eating the mayonnaise.
100% guaranteed eating the mayonnaise. In fact, production, can we get a jar of mayonnaise ready just at some point before Sunday? Because based on what we've seen thus far, we have an insane mat count across the board already. Look at the inventory. This is ridiculous. They are kitted to the teeth. 11 points already going into Game 2. Game 1 must have. We'll have to take a look back if we can see exactly how that played out for them the previous round. But they're moving in. They have maybe. Granted, we can see on the minimap that there's nobody at Dusty Depot right now, but that's a potential loot, drop spot for a trio at this point. But right now it's uncontested. You see there's builds there and there's no one around. They have a free rotation in. You see where the next circle ends up. Meanwhile, you're going to have teams smushed up against each other already on the movement in, fighting it out. We're looking all the way to the north side of the map, just past the block. A number of players probably dropping up there.
And this is a veteran team right here. The Vic, Robabs, and Falcony been around the scene for a long while here, and they are just dictating the pace of this battle here as they're trying to look for this push right now. The shield bubble's not going to be effective. He actually had to push out of it, and it's a 3v1 situation right here. Down comes to push him back, and it should be a nice, easy close-in. You see right there.
I'm zoned inside. One box left. The quick edit, the swap. Lands the shot, nice trap from above, dodges it. Basically no damage taken.
It's a good attempt. Pretty good attempt right there. Did try to, catch the Vic off guard, but he was fast enough. Managed to kind of sneak on through.
By the way, on the right side of your screen, here's the results of Game 1. You see Mongrel, Mitro, Benji Fishy taking 5th place. Alblefly, Miro, Matsoe in the 1st place position up there, which means 15 points for that trio. There's the remainder of your top 10. Just a quick info blast there for you if you did not see Game 1 on any of the channels that might be streaming their gameplay right now.
And I love that. I love that we can see exactly where we're at with the leaderboard. That was the wrap-up of Game 1, your top 10 teams coming into Game 2 now. And remember, every single heat, they're going against one another. So we're going to see rivalry. The best, like that leaderboard is going to change with every single elimination, every battle. They're going against each other.
With the exception, of course, once Mongrel, Mitro, and Benji take that 1st place spot. I'm just saying, they have been playing insane. That's not to say that anybody else can't potentially take that top spot. It's very possible. I mean, even Skyt, Hunter, and Keysar from Solary and Lestream, this is an excellent trio in itself. But man, just the dominant gameplay from MMB has been insane to watch.
Yeah,
up here on top of the hill now.
Sundown put it best. It's Europe playing catch up here with our favorite, I guess, team to look out for. But
absolutely,
we'll see how the performances go here as Hunter, Skyt, and Keysar are just going to base up, kind of sit just outside of the Tilted Town. You can take a look at that map there. Players are setting up. They're setting the perches. The high grounds are being claimed, and that is how you can start to choke out squads that are rotating late here. Now, they are going to hopefully, get a little bit of that RNG, right? Get that zone to fall in their favor, because otherwise they'd have to burn some valuable resource. early on.
I will say, over 10 seasons of Fortnite, this hill has been one of the most consistent high ground advantage spots to take. And even now, you're looking down on Tilted Town where there's no building. You have essentially free shots on players that do, for some reason, choose or are forced to rotate through there. This spot is insanely good. You have clear line of sight on so many different locations. Even the high hill to the north, which is high ground elevation-wise, you still have a clear line of sight on a majority of what's up there. There's only a little nub at the top that can block line of sight of anybody that's moving on the north side of that hill. This trio, Skype, Keenstar, Hunter, they're in a great spot going into the next circle.
Absolutely. There's no reason for them to move right now either. As you said, they have a nice line of sight over the field here. And all those tags, those are crucial tags. Remember, Storm Surge can affect anyone here, so you have to be proactive. You can't just sit around and be complacent with your positioning. You have to be actively seeking for damage if you don't want to get taken out by the Storm Surge. But here we have another little engagement about to go down here. It looks like the Vic is currently turning, this house inside out. There's a team very close by.
Rotating forward just to the southeast there, the gas station. Plus, you do have one more player at the gazebo in the middle of Pleasant Park. Going to rotate up on top, and I think now's the time to try and get a height advantage. You don't want anybody to apply too much pressure. Plus, they are further away from the zone. So the team from TCK, they are in a good spot to just try and stormhold this, if that's what it comes down to. You have 3 potential point pickups here, eliminations. Actually, pressure going in here. Muser taking the high ground on top of this trio. Used that shockwave and got up on top. I would expect pressure from the other two here momentarily. We will see. But there is another trio. Look on the minimap. You have another team coming in from behind. So now both the trios that we just saw on your screen right now that are fighting it out here at this northeast building in Pleasant, they're about to get stormheld by another team down there. They're moving in as well. This is going to be 3 teams fighting basically in one building in a second here. And Gems is eliminated. You have a couple pickups there. The Vic. 3 eliminations now, a ton of materials, but you do have literally another team on top of them right now.
And that's what happens when Storm Surge comes into effect. People do desperate things. So this team was totally fine parked up here, but now they have to force the push here. They have to defend themselves. And lucky for them, they get the tags, they get the trades, and their entire trio is still standing. This is a 3-way battle going on here, all of which is probably forced out because of Storm Surge now.
I guarantee you there's some
Robab
frustration.
did a good job here. He's going to get shot in the back. He's the most hurt. He's actually going to shockwave through, trying to find himself a better position here, Dr. Lupo. And he does. He breaks away. He's got a little bit of time to himself now.
Good call there to try and rotate away. They are a little split at this point. Falconly's going to have to rotate back. Junior 7 Josh and Tom Wamo all stacked up next to each other right there in front of the garage of that building. Wonder if the campfire is going to be a clue for them. If they do spot it and realize they might be low HP, it might be the time to push. They have a way to pressure. 5 shockwaves in the inventory of Robabs means rotation here in a minute is not going to be a problem. The team shockwave could come in clutch. Might be time for it. You see him line it up. In fact, he might even be marking it just to say, hey, let's get ready to go. Indeed, that's what he was doing. There we go. Rotation all the way south. Look at that. Solid push ahead of the team that did apply pressure moments ago. They have the circle advantage now, and now they are sitting at the forefront, able to stormhold.
And what a reckless push. They had the zone right here. They go outside the storm, the safety zone, just to try and force that fight, and then failed.
You got to think the potential chance of taking damage from the storm, the storm surge might have been the reason for the push. And sure, we didn't have the number up on the screen at that moment, but you have to think throwing away a positional advantage the last second there, especially because you know the storm timer. The circle timer is on your screen, so they know that at some point, if they're going to push, they need to make it quick, or they just need to wait. Chose to move out there, and now they're on the outside. Meanwhile, 3 HP. The other 2 from the trio. Matsui Amplify still up. This is the winners from game 1, by the way.
Oh, they are.
25 points, a big lead going into game 2.
This is what we like to call shambles loot right here, man. Mira with no heals, 3 HP in the Dream. Amplify also equally hurt. They do have a couple of eliminations to their name here, but it's looking pretty dicey.
Look on your minimap. They have to rotate past so many teams, and they're sharing loot right now just to try and give everybody a chance. I almost would say maybe Miro drop everything that he's got just in case, any chance to boost up the other 2, because at this point, 3 HP is not the best situation to be in. Here we go. Matsui pushing forward. The other 2 not yet on his tail. You can watch on the minimap just a second there.
You actually have to appreciate Matsui kind of leading the charge here. He's the only one with shield on his team, so he says, you know what, I'm going to go out first. I'll do the building. I'll do the leading here, taking the pack to the next zone. And, I mean, it gets him a little bit closer to the safety spot. I think the play here is either catch a pick, get this siphon, or buy time, right? Hopefully a launch pad comes down. You guys get a little share time on it, and they can get that way to the zone.
That audio cue, you hear the shockwave. That actually is a very good signal for them being low HP. They don't want to make a move before somebody else. And Hunter gets almost beamed into the ground, but now they know that they're basically free to rotate. The team that was potentially going to be a problem. Big hit there. Gets the elimination on Hunter. Very valuable. Amplified does, in fact, go down. You see in the top left, Raxo takes him down from D-Mine. 23 trios remaining, 61 players total. The threshold on the middle right, they're 343 damage above. But Miro still sitting on only 3 HP. The Mini's going to be a big pickup there. Now 53 total.
At least he gets him a little more health here, right? Puts him in the game, keeps him in the running just for a little longer. Now he has the option to pick up this blue pump, and he actually is going to opt into keeping the gold tack. That's actually a pleasant surprise there. Wouldn't have thought that, the pros would take the slower pull-out time from the gold tack over the blue pump.
You get a 200 damage hit with the blue pump. Can mean the difference between making it into the circle and getting stopped by somebody. Maybe you get surprised inside your own box. Somebody takes your wall. Situational awareness is big for the blue pump to be extremely effective, and your accuracy has to be on. But, man, when the thing hits, it really hits.
You really got to appreciate this push right here because they're still fighting for this game right here. There's a minigun over to the left. That hit right there is going to hurt a lot, though, because, again, the heals are so sketchy here. I think they have one more mini left to their name. Yeah, perfect time to come with the explodes right there. He's trying to break through the build. Someone's going to catch a sneak shot from behind, though.
That back right corner, Miro down to 49 on the ground. Matsui probably going to have to leave him out to dry there. Another team making moves on the side. The safe zone, the next safe zone is the bottom middle of your screen, or bottom middle of the current safe zone. You see in the bottom right there, the mini-map. 5 damage below the threshold. Skype solo right now looking for a tag, and he does actually find it, and an elimination is a big point right there. 20 trios remaining to get close to placement points before too long.
Just looking at the feed, I saw Mitro still in the running here somewhere in the game, so that trio, top 5 trio, still in the running here. I think our number 1 team might have been completely wiped during that push right there, so they're out. They cannot accumulate any more points, but they did pick up a lot of eliminations, so you best believe they're still in the top 10 as far as we know right now. But it's so early. It's still so early.
There's a lot of opportunity here. We still have a number of games left. Camo, Harmy, and Pepper at the top of this, looks like 4 or 6 block tower. Stinger to apply pressure while the minigun is going. Love the EU tactics. You don't see too much minigun other regions right now, but this Tomo Amo does go down. Well, imagine that many rounds from a trio all shooting at your single build and you're by yourself. It's basically GG at that point.
And this team here is also just heavy on the elims right now. An effective 7+ for the squad right here. And they have the prime position to catch the picks of anyone rotating from the backside. This is actually perfect too, right? The heavy congestion is below them. They don't have anyone up here in this layer with them. The closest person is this trio right here to their left. And it looks like it's time to get that focus fire on. Here comes the minigun.
The mark for attacking right there. Stink to apply and make a move. You use those HP tags that pop up, the 5, to see where your opponents are rotating. And now they're in literally the very bottom of the same builds. You have a ton of people stacked up next to each other at this point now. But Camo, Pepper, and Harmy look like they still have the ultimate high ground, the best spot on the map right now. That being said, they're on the far west of the current safe zone, and they need to rotate southeast. Hopefully, somebody's got a launch pad or shockwaves in the inventory to make this rotation. Otherwise, they're going to have to build across and tarp over everyone else underneath them. You do still see Benji, Fishy, Mongrel, and Mitro right there on your screen. They are still in this one. Looking down from almost the same angle. Here we go. Rotation with the launch pad. Well above the damage threshold for Storm Surge. Excellent spot. And 12 rockets in the RPG. They're going to build on pre-built structure over there that somebody else put up. Might even be their own builds.
And this is exactly what you want to study from this star trio right here. Zone 6, they go for the high ground. So they're actually going to take the high ground. He's going to catch 2 on the knock right there, which means that team is really hurting now. That's going to be Voron who gets taken out there. Voron was also in the top 5, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a power takedown right here. It's going to allow this trio to just get one step closer, kind of breaking away, getting, you know, Shio Wager, the mayonnaise tub to the face. So we'll see if it, comes to fruition before the day's up.
Mitro staying a little bit towards the back, keep throwing down those RPGs at players that are rotating, or the builds to see if we can get drops on people. Mitro pick it up. There's those 2 Elims in the feed, so he did secure both of them. That puts the entire trio at 6 total right now, 17 points. And we're looking at placement now, top 15 trios remaining. Only 29 players, though, as the elimination feed is starting to light up across the board. These are the zones that really cut the player count down as people are moving, especially when you have one of, if not the best trio on Ultimate High Ground with an RPG. Are you kidding me?
But
they are in the best spot.
Remember, it still hurts to hold high ground from Zone 6 so early. They're going to be forced to jump down soon if they can't, kind of map conserve properly. They're getting broken down consistently now by the shockwaves. These are one of the cons that happen when you take that high ground, because you don't get the pleasures of looting the players you drop, right? Just like that. All that loot's gone. They actually can't use it.
And every time you hear a shockwave, you'll see these players snap and look up in the air to see if they can try and find who's on the fly. In case you have free shots as that elimination is secured. Mitro picking up a knock on another one for the trio. 7 remaining. I've got to say, if this is not a win for this team, I don't know what is.
It's going to be a close one. Mongo actually did not have any more AR left in his gun. There's no more RPG left here. It's a straight-up shotgun battle. This is a crucial elim. That's going to get them some of the resources that they need to hold this high ground here. And it looks like it's cutting back across. So lucky for them, they're going to be able to kind of reuse some of their resource here. We have a couple players left in the game here. Red Rush in the low ground. Shaka and Cal as well. And here's Mitro just raining fire. That tac sub SMG so good for shredding through builds right here. And honestly, it can pierce through the turbos like right there. These are the shots. Good pressure right here from Mitro, putting down the fire, putting all the ammunition to use here. We're almost in the final zone now. This is it. Storm Zone 9. The close in will happen. Looks like Benji Fishy's going to go for that high ground. You saw him elevate himself right there. So he's going to get out of the harm's way of the shockwave. And Mitro's going to stay down here and just get down and dirty with the TAC SMG right now, Lupo.
You have to remember at the last set of placements here, the points really kick up as you go from 5th to 4th and 3rd to 2nd, and then the Victory Royale. So every time you see a player go down, like right there, the 4 trios remaining get even more points. As soon as one more trio goes down, we're looking at 1st and 2nd, and that's it. And we're down to the very last second here, the spray from above. This honestly, as soon as we got to top 40, this was Mongrel, Mitro, Benji Fishy all the way to the end. No surprise here.
And a monstrous 12 elim game right there. And you saw even in the final moments, they did try to drop a couple of medium bullets there. But with that, we're going to send it over to the studio with Zeke and Sundown. What do you have for us, guys?
Oh man, MMB starting off the day strong. We are one step closer to Shio eating an entire jar of mayonnaise.
It's escalated because he said cup, but we really didn't define cup. Some people was like, is this a standard measuring cup? And someone was like, honestly, it should be a World Cup. I was actually just back in the kitchen looking to see if we could find any mayo. I'm going to have to make a run tomorrow because after that last game, it was just incredible. So that is 2 matches down in the heat. Let's take a look first at the standings and see where we're at after the first 2 games because, that's weird. Who's that up top?
This might as well just be Shio, eat mayonnaise.
I mean,
I think
so
it
the
reads.
one thing, and we saw they had a number of elims. They were in actually 4th place after the first match, but then the 12 elim plus the victory route, Zeke talking about it, every single one of those being a point, and then the victory route being 15 as well, pushing them up to 38. They're already 7 points clear of Falcony, Robabs, and the Vic, who've been playing very well. 19 elims there is pushing them 5 points clear of Amplify, Miro, and Matzo, who had an incredible first game. I mean, it's been an... Oh.
I just want to throw out a quick little apology. Based on score, I had assumed that because Matsui, Miro, and Amplify had first place, that they had the Victory Royale. They, in fact, did not. So my apologies. All we were given was placement on the screen. That's my bad. Back to you.
We got to keep him honest, and we love him very much for it. But don't forget, the top 8 are moving on from this heat. So right now, you must be this tall to ride. So if we're looking at just top 8, the points, 18, that's just like a victory royale is worth 15 points in and of itself. So even if you get that victory royale with 3 eliminations, you can now look to strike up in the top 8. So, and we're only in second game. We're about to head into game number 3. What does this spell for like all of these other teams?
Yeah, you just have to stay consistent. You have to not fear. If you have a couple of bad games, that's okay. If you're able to get in, get situated, get a couple of eliminations, get some placement points in there. As you can see right now, to be on the first page, it's 11 points up there. But one thing I do want to take a look at here is some of the gameplay that came out from Mongrel, Mitro, and Benji. They were able to play so well, and Lupo even hinted at it, saying at around like top 40 or so, you could kind of smell that they were going to have that victory out. It had the sense of, hey, they were going to get high ground. They had everything they needed. It's like, oh, this looks like it's going to be a win from them. Let's hop on in and see how they're able to execute and get this done. And one thing you'll note is when they are on high ground, they're so incredibly disciplined with their angles. They're constantly looking around, adjusting, putting rockets towards their opponents, and then keeping control, working with each other to make sure that they're finding the right targets. I mean, Mongrel's aim on people who are in the air, honestly, you'd think he's using a controller, the way these players just get beamed as they come through, but no, it is just his amazing bro. Just as Mitro would say, that's crazy. They are running it through 38 points up top. And again, always on the high ground. And for me, that's what's so impressive. In a meta where there's so many RPGs, so many shockwaves, the way they're able to not only get initial control, but then run the rest of the lobby without having to drop down and putting themselves in bad situations. They were never threatened. Count the number of times in this clip that bullets or anything are being shot back towards them. Everyone else is so focused on just trying to rotate and avoid damage from above that these guys don't have to do really anything in terms of defensive play, and they can just focus on going forward, and it seemed like it was just going to be a win. And honestly, I want to roll this all the way back to Xiaowei Just Beast talking about the retail drop spot and how your early game sets you up for an advantage. They have so many tools at their disposal, from ammunition to rockets to excess shields to having enough mats because they had rotations early on to hold the high ground. It just makes it so easy and so clinical. And I promise, if you are a trio or you're just interested in competitive Fortnite and getting better, go and load up these guys' server replays. Watch them play. Check them out on their socials. You might want to actually mute their streams every now and then because they can get a little loud on the comms. Ballas does a great job breaking that one down. And let's actually take a look at page 2 of the standings, because as we talked about, in the heat formats, the top 8 are going to advance. But just so you can get a hint, 5 elims right now is getting you up into that second page. There is 32 teams in each one of the heats. You need to be in the top 25% in order to advance. In Europe, every single one of these guys is impressive, but they're all capable of stringing together a couple of good runs. You have 6 games. A third of them are down. You're now into kind of like the meat of it. In the next 2 games, you don't want to fall out early. So expect to see some intense battles early on and maybe a little bit more passive play kind of in the mid game, because people don't want to get dropped out. You don't want it to be a third game and then fall out and realize, oh, we're that much more off the pace. Now we really need to be pressing forward. I think you'll start seeing aggression in games 5 and 6, but 3 and 4, they're going to be playing a little bit more like me. Hanging out, just being like, oh, there's people over there? No, I'm good.
So not like me, who does not even get to play. Got it. Yeah, we'll have to see how things go, because again, like Sunon's saying, you have to be top 8 if you want to move on to grand finals. So for a lot of these teams, I think we're going to see that, though. Maybe even some teams that are even on, say, page 3, they want to try and make top 8. So they might just say, look, we're going to contest MMB at retail. Let's just go for it. We have 6 games. Let's try it once. If it doesn't work out, we'll change up the plan. But I mean, I know that's tough, a tall order. I'm aware.
I wouldn't say, like, so retail loot is strong, but there's a reason why you see the most dominant teams kind of staking their ground in retail, because it's like, come and challenge us if you want, because if anything, that benefits us more. We're confident that we can take those early game fights with you. Like, if you want to split and try and do the blacktop houses, like, that's fine, but these guys will end up running at you. They will take the challenge, because for them, like, they see 50 pots. They see points on the leaderboard. They see ways to climb this way up. No, it's serious. That's how MMB, that's how Volks and them, that's what they look at retail as. If you want to come there that confident, and the mental game is so important, particularly in a heat structure like this, where if you, in the first 2 games, if you are hanging around off this page, if you're not in direct contention, you might think, man, I'm struggling right now. Like, we really need to get into it. But in reality, you're able to string together 1 or 2 strong games, or even a victory royale right now would put you through. right?
Yeah.
And any of these guys are capable of winning one of these games. So I think they can do it, but it's all about keeping a strong mental game as you're going through.
It's tough, man. I mean, as much as I want to see Shy eat a jar of mayonnaise, it would be kind of cool to have a new trio come up and, dethrone MMB. I am about that, but it's just going to be a lot about mental game, like you're saying. If you start to confidence even just a little bit, that's going to affect your potential placement in top 8. We'll have to see, though. I'm getting a little too excited, Fortnite fam. I want to see more of this. But yeah, I think we're getting ready. Battle Bus, the players are boarding. We'll be there in just a moment. I think we have a package here in just a moment. But what do you think, man? So do you think, where is Aqua? Did we see him? Is he on page 1?
They're not in this heat. They're not in this
Oh, okay,
heat.
I'm sorry.
It's different heats. It's okay.
Different heat.
This
There
is just
is,
heat 1. So
which brings me to my
again,
next
just to
point.
remind people, is a little too excited here. There are 4 heats
setting
coming
up for
through
you.
in Europe. 8 teams will be advancing and going on. And the way you're able to kind of score and work your way up is through eliminations and placing higher up. Though in Europe, particularly, they have the highest amount of participation. So all of these players they are at the very tippy top, right? This is the top 0.001%.
Right.
These are the best of the best and the people who are very able to compete against these guys. So they're able to elevate their game on a particular day. However, as we're sitting here and able to have our own predictions, there's a reason we all think Mitro, Mongo, and Benji have done it. There are repeated trios who have shown they're consistently stronger and that much better than the rest. It's not like we're basing this off of who our favorite players are, right? It's going and looking at it and breaking it down. But for now, we're going to throw to a 10-minute break while we sort some stuff out on our end. We'll go talk to the bus driver, try and get that going. You guys take your bio breaks, whatever you need. We'll be right back.
Hello, family of Fortnite. BallTW here, and throughout the Fortnite Champion Series, we're going to be trying to get more acquainted with the world of competitive Fortnite. Today, we're going to be discussing the 3 different stages of a competitive Fortnite game: the early game, the mid game, and the late game, and what different players have as their goals during these stages in order to achieve the ultimate goal, the Victory Royale. Let's start with the early game. Also called the looting phase, this is where all players are attempting to secure their chosen landing spot and maximize their loot potential. In competitive Fortnite, every game matters, so players try to strike a balance between high loot opportunity and safety so as to not waste a game by being eliminated early. Do you drop at a high loot POI like Retail Row or Paradise Palms? Or land at a safer POI on the edge of the map, where less players drop because of less loot? Regardless, the goal is common, whether you take a passive approach by looting safely on the side of the map, or an aggressive and risky approach by letting others loot for you and finding early eliminations. Now that we know what the early game is, what should we be looking out for during this stage? First things first, being contested. The first realization players make when landing is whether you're being contested or not, to prepare for the upcoming possible fight. Trios want to try to force your opponent into the more disadvantageous position cut off from loot potential. Either they have to make a desperation push, or they're stuck with less loot where you can easily clean up. That's just the beginning, as even though it starts off high intensity with all the different POIs being contested, it quickly slows down as the rotations begin towards first zone. Looting doesn't end here, and most competitive players will have a loot path which optimizes their possibility for finding the crucial mobility and weapon upgrades. Thanks to the new battle map feature in the replay mode, we can study these loot paths and rotations quite easily these days. So go check that out in any replay from the Fortnite Champion Series by going into the Compete tab and finding your favorite player. It will vary from game to game, but generally, we move into the mid game around the middle to end of second zone. The mid game is the calm before the storm. Before the storm circle gets too small where it forces the engagements. Most players' goals aren't positional, but in some cases, depending on how the early game went, you again have to strike a balance, this time between looting and farming, or going for the best position. Looting could include playing extremely aggressive to earn yourself other players' loot. In trios, it's much harder to play that aggressive playstyle, since fights take longer and cost more. You want to be efficient with any rotations or fights you have to take. You don't want to spend your precious mobility, valuable resources, or health. This is why you'll see a lot of the top players look directly for center zone in the mid game. When you're in the center zone, you end up giving yourself the most chance of being in the next storm circle when it gets revealed. You'll then have to go less distance and thus spend less materials. Finally, the endgame, the most exciting, hectic, thrilling, and difficult part of competitive Fortnite. Experiencing an endgame can be confusing and hard to process, but it will also be one of the most rewarding and fun times to play and watch. This is when you take all the advantages you built in the early game and the mid game and use them to push yourself to a victory royale, and also find as many eliminations as possible. In the current Fortnite Champion Series format, every elimination matters, just like it did in the World Cup. From 6th zone onwards, where the calm from the mid-game explodes into a cacophony of tunneling, mobility usage, and shots being fired, you'll see teams go for the ever-so-advantageous high ground, where they can tunnel very cheaply and have the most opportunity on the rest of the server for elimination, as they have the top-down view. You'll also see teams call out the need to find a good layer, which is away from other players, both above, below, and horizontally from you. You'll see teams desperate for the extra materials to last them through to the full zone closure, going for impact eliminations where they can top off on resources and power weaponry of their fallen opponents. So, whether you're watching or you're joining us on the field, take stock in the stage of the game. The early game, when you're trying to get the best possible loot while it's still available. The mid game, where you're balancing positioning while maintaining what you built during the early game. And finally, the end game, where you spend all the advantages you set yourself up with to earn the victory royale. Use this to form your game plan in order to earn as many series points weekend after weekend. And maybe next time, we'll be watching and highlighting your top plays. This was BallaTW, and I'll see you in game.
Hey guys, Shadow Wager here, bringing you a breakdown on one of the most dynamic, flexible, and clutch items every trio is utilizing in the Fortnite Champion Series, the Shockwave Grenade. We're going to be taking a look at some of the basics on how it's used and misused at crucial moments in the game, and how to adapt and play against them towards the end game. To get started, let's get a refresher on what shockwaves are and some of the basics of using them. Shockwave grenades are a utility item that drop in stacks of 2, with a maximum stack size of 6. When thrown, the shockwave launches anyone within its tile and a half radius far distances, destroying builds in the process, with the added protection from fall damage for the players who use them. The most effective way to gain maximum distance is to time your jump well with a shockwave right below you, angling yourself above it for higher vertical movement, or towards the side of it in midair for horizontal coverage. If you do use a shockwave to rotate through builds late game, you will only be able to go through about 5 layers of wood, brick, or metal before you come to a stop. When going for height, if you don't get stopped by any opposing player's builds at all, you can reach upwards of 7.5 tiles in height, giving anyone above you a surprise and changing both yours and your enemy's game plan in a split second. Although really easy to understand and use individually, once entering the atmosphere of trios and teamwork, the use of shockwaves enters a whole new dimension. There are deciding factors in win conditions if used properly, allowing for easy positioning and rotations. Using them and sticking together after the landing is efficient and gets your whole trio online, ready to fire at a faster rate compared to the rest of the competition. Saving these grenades for later use brings an element of surprise as well, and a level of shock to the whole server. Looking at 8th and 9th zones with densely packed endgames, vertical shockwaves make high ground and mid ground layers crumble, and give patient trios and surviving solos a way to counter long tarps and bases towering above them. Facing off against 3 players usually proves fatal though, as you are vulnerable throughout your whole flight and easily targeted by the trio you're trying to attack. Turbo building walls on the way up from your shockwave can work against this though, but gives your newfound height poor foundation, easily shot out and focused from below. Panicking with shockwaves in your own box and misusing them is always an irreversible mistake during the game, giving you poor positioning split away from your trio, costing you building resources, or ultimately you and your teammates their entire health and shield pool if used at the absolute incorrect moment. To counteract the chaos from shockwaves, new and clean strategies are put in place to negate the negatives and potential mishaps in certain situations. When going for height, separately boxing up before using the shockwaves and going for height then allows you to have power in numbers as 3 players get a vertical rotation together, overwhelming the competition. Discovering new positioning and shockwave throwing angles and targets within your box might keep your trio and teammates closer together when using one shockwave to rotate, saving crucial mats and attracting less attention during your mid-game rotations. You also save your total shockwave count by doing this, allowing for more opportunities to challenge high ground, grief low ground in the end game, or rotate in mid-game. Countermeasures can be taken too, such as keeping a teammate higher than normal, multiple layers above you, as in the event of a vertical shockwave, you still have someone up high who can rain down and support your trio on a retake. Keeping your own shockwaves handy is a way to counter anyone taking height off of you as well. But if both trios play mind games and the circle gets smaller, smaller, and smaller, the more likely a chance there is for a messy, repeat shockwave circus happening all at the same time. Player after player gets sent flying in the sky, with teammates all getting sent around in and out of the storm, off their sharp layers, and splits costing your trio more mats and resources than normal. Identifying these mistakes, staying in your lane, and watching teams move is a good way to anticipate and prevent disaster from striking before it happens. Although an item overlooked as simple mobility at first, the potential and efficiency of using shockwave grenades as a trio separates the good players from the great, and practicing, reviewing, and watching how plays are set up before they happen is a good way to keep in the loop, improve on mistakes, and get better retakes on height when using one of the most versatile items in the game. Keep your team's position in mind while breaking, jumping, and blasting into the air until you get it just right, and who knows, maybe you can have that top play or amazing clutch that saves your team while competing in the FNCS.
What's up, Fortnite fam? So first of all, sorry about that. We had a little bit of issues on our side with the European matches flushing, but there's been a ton of Fortnite action going on this morning anyway, with Middle East wrapping up their first and second heat. So we have the final results, and we're gonna hop into some of the action. And also, I just wanna say, my predictions for Middle East are looking pretty good. I know Zeke kind of hinted at it, but you can check out on the FN Competitive Twitter and also on the YouTube some of our prediction and our preview piece we were able to go through, and we talked about what some of our predictions, particularly in the Middle East and European region, are. So make sure you get up to date on that, get what our thoughts and opinions are. But we're going to be hopping into Heat 2, Match 1 of the Middle East region in just a second here. And honestly, I'm excited. It's going to be the first time seeing Middle East in outside of the open tournament format and seeing the top teams really go at it. And honestly, looking at the heats afterward, there are a lot of big changes now up on the board here. You can see there were some differences in the predictions. One, I will say, I was the one who predicted Flame, Prime, and Hunter up there. So swap Zeke and I's names, but otherwise, Klops, Hero Kappa, and Fiesel were the favorites going through. They performed pretty well. You will be seeing them in the Middle East Grand Final tomorrow. However, Flame, Prime, and Hunter were also able to have a positive day in their heat and advance through. So predictions so far are holding steady, and it's going to be exciting once we get in. There is a different style of play, different types of gameplay from all over the regions, but enough from me. I've talked enough. Let's throw it on over to Lupo and Monster as they take you into Middle East Heat 2, Match 1.
Sundown, thank you very much. Just a quick note to those at home. Occasionally we run into issues on the cast. Do your best to not get too worked up about it. You know, there's a lot of things at play here, so you have to imagine a 10-minute break is an insanely short amount of time to recover and get back into the games. As you can see here on your screen, Heat 2, Game 1 of the Middle East region just starting off. Tilted Town, a number of teams dropping down to the bottom. Down here, pressure in the bottom, and the pump shotgun. An early blue pump shotgun in Tilted Down, as you can see, is honestly one of the most powerful weapons you can get it just hits so hard for and so many up-close fights, too.
Such a clean shot. And that's one of the perks of landing in Tilted Town. You know you're going to get a blue... You know you're leaving a blue pump, you're leaving with shockwaves, you're guaranteed heals. Like, guaranteed minimal.
Exactly.
Not only that, you're probably going to get yourself some launch pads as well. So this is the place to be, especially if you want to guarantee your loadout. And you stick around just to get back to the lobby. Not much you can do there. You catch one pick, maybe you get a point for your leaderboard, basically. But
even then,
his battle to lose.
You have to hope it's like a solo, otherwise they're just going to get picked back up almost immediately. It's a tough spot to be in. But yeah, you're saying early game in Tilted has such a refined loot pool. The trade-off of not being able to build, or in some people's mindsets, not having to build, because you know that you can just focus on gun skill and accuracy, is such a big factor in building up an early loot. Just the early loot game is it's huge here. Like
it's actually crazy
feels like
too.
Crazy. Yep. Everybody's going to come out stacked with a good set of materials, in fact, just because you can pick up all that stuff out of the chest and off of every elimination. If you do get challenged here, it's arguably one of the better spots to drop right now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, imagine a game where one of these guys bring that double barrel out of Tilted Town, because there are some rules in play where the double barrel shotgun only spawns in Tilted, but you can even take the weapons out of the place as well. And
third time's a charm. There we go.
Finally made it up top. He's having a little bit of a struggle there, trying to get up and over.
He's got to track down that space bar. It runs away sometimes. Unless they're playing on controller, I guess. My apologies. Controller gang, love you.
If anything, Controller Gang has the best movement we've seen so far. These guys can go 360 on the...
Clearly you don't watch my stream, Monster. I appreciate it, though. Yeah.
But all right, now we're looking at Happy Hamlet here. A little bit of a standoff. Moon, Minzu, and Kinji here have that high ground. There's 3 teams here.
The prediction from 4 of the 5 of us, one of the players, Klops, going down on the feet up top there. You hate to see that.
And if I had to guess, I actually did a Middle Eastern VOD review. They land towards Junk Junction, so they must have had some kind of problems over at Haunted Hills, but we'll talk about that in just a bit here as Kenji uses a valuable shockwave to try and take the high ground here, and he is going to get chipped just a little bit. And such a nice pinch going on right here. And this is one of our newer competitive regions, so a little bit of catch-up, right, to catch up to the rest of the competitive scene, per se.
I wouldn't even say that, honestly, because some of these players are so good, Monster. I mean, we've even watched each other grow very quickly playing the game just from watching these competitive experiences. You have opportunities like this. Look at that. The Kinji immediately flicks up, gets the knock on Info, who's trying to shockwave from, over the top. But you have to understand, these players in the Middle East region have been asking for their own region for quite a long time, so they've been watching the competitive experience between all these other regions. That kind of learning has to have happened big time.
That was a filthy little ramp edit right there to catch AZ2M. And yeah, that's what I wanted to touch on, is that they were held back for so long because of the ping differences, right?
Yep.
But now having their own region, a lot of it has, a lot of these players have found a little bit of remedy in that factor as well. So good for them. We see new faces come up and have their moment, pretty much catch a little highlight here today.
Kinji picking up the revive right there on Minzu. Knocked from the middle of that fight. A valiant trade, though. Honestly, if your team only suffers a single knockdown, you pick up those 3 eliminations, I'd say that's 100% worth it. Those bubble shields in rotation out. Team moving up on top of the hill.
And not
lucky landing.
He was actually hit with a little headshot right there, ripped apart all of his shield. Now forced only down to bandages, and this is a battle that they have to take on their heels here. And I like what they're doing. They're backing up as a squad, trying to use this time to also gather some mats in the process. This team is not letting up. You have the NL squad right here, Nella, Easy, and Saya Zine right here. Or Saya Zren, excuse me. And they're coming in with the push. They're still fully shielded up for the most part.
Now we got the ultimate high ground right now. Gonna have to fight out one player all the way at the top. Shots coming from the third party right there. Looks like a teammate trying to knock down that build as they're pushing up. Side, ultimate high ground, looking down from above. Little explode from underneath, gonna have to build against that, waiting for the peak shot. Look at the timing on that. Very last second before getting to the pyramid. Gets a ton of big shots. Looking for the last one, there it is, finds the knock on Izzy. They have the advantage at this point, picks up that elimination, up to 125 total HP. Nella gets knocked. Wild Gamer picking up that elimination. And an RPG in there is going to be huge. Tack shotgun shots back-to-back, finds the third one, and that is a solid 3 eliminations for Wild Gamer, making it up for the loss of Silence down there in the bottom left corner.
fighting on the heels right there, and they turn that battle around. Very well done. Natsai I've actually had the pleasure with, I'm pretty sure, talking as I've, browsed around the Middle Eastern region. So good to see him pulling up and performing here, as they now are pretty much clear, and they have the zone. They're in the clear. They have the zone. They can get this revive off. So Silence is going to be able to come back in the game as he gets hit up on the reboot van.
Huge value. That being said, the inventory of Sai has 2 green tactical shotguns in there, some bandages, an AR, and that TAC SMG. Lucky landing, looking like it is calm at this point. A lot of builds, but no competition left down here as this trio is going to be able to pick back up, potentially finish looting up down here, farm any materials they can get out of it. They're in the safe zone. Circle still has 38 seconds before it closes, so they're not feeling too much pressure in any way right now. We'll have to see where the next circle goes. This is a good opportunity for them to build up a good buffer, materials, healing, any leftover loot that might be down here, and make their way onto the next safe zone without much issue. Meanwhile, Suber, Sammy, and Dream pushing from outside of the storm. Yep. The far east drop here in the desert.
Such a weird place to play as well. The moisty palms where you can't just crouch freely. You have to be very cautious. A lot of the competitive players opting to unbind the crouch just in case. You don't want to make any mistakes there. And honestly, if you do that, you're kind of in the advantage, right? You set yourself up for success, so you don't make any mistakes in PvP. I know myself, I tend to crouch in fights all the time. You don't really realize it till it happens, but
it's a tough break when it does happen, I'll say. Looks like an attempted shockwave to avoid a fight there, but Saber does get the pick there. A knockdown is rotating into the storm. Trying to get to safe.
That's going to be a nice little knock there. He's going to replenish his health up. There is a player outside of the storm line. It's going to be his teammate, Will, who's waiting nearby, and you can see over at the other kind of crater there to the left where you can farm up all the stone. That's probably where the rest of that guy's duo is.
Most likely.
Trio, I should say here. But someone does see the rotation. They're pushing on in. We have a trio coming in.
I say now's the time. You have people just coming in from the storm. You think you're in the better position. Pushing is basically a no-brainer. You see here, gonna have to fight to stay in.
You heard the shots outside the storm wave. You figured you might as well push out. These guys are going to come out with a little bit of health tick. Anything to have that advantage there.
Drop him back.
All right, Sammy, Will, and Suber here says, you know what, this is not the battle we want to take. The third party, or it actually isn't a third party. They're just pressuring with Splodes here, so they want to back up. They want to reset a little bit here.
I don't blame them. You basically started that fight not as a full trio. Sammy was still outside in the storm, and so rotating back away and saying, nah, this is not the fight to take. We're not exactly in the best spot. Plus, if you think about it, they did force that team, the team that applied pressure from inside the safe zone, to burn through some traps. There's some zap traps in the wall, so you those out of the inventory, which is great for later in the game. Ultimately, kind of a win-win. Set of eliminations here.
This is a nice little look right here. You can see those teams that are on the west and north side of the map forced to fight their way down now. Quite a rotation here as the zone seems to be pushing all the way south. So the later you move, the more congested this rotation will be, the harder it will be for you later in the games. You really want to get down here early, especially when a zone favors one side pretty heavily. See competitive players try to rotate nice and early. I'm
looking for Nazir to hit a snipe shot here. He keeps pulling that heavy sniper out and taking a look. Hasn't gone for it yet. I would say position-wise, not the best call. You draw a lot of attention to yourself as you are further outside towards the edge of what is currently safe. So people are probably going to look back and try and stormhold you. But could you imagine Nazir hitting just a crazy snipe right there on the rotation in? They suddenly have advantage of trio versus only 2 left up. They could push through, pick up 3 elims, all the materials, and make their way in the safe zone.
And this is actually very interesting right here. FHD actually opened this battle up with a heavy snipe. They catch the knock, but they don't even collapse to kind of seal the deal. They say, you know what, instead, we're going to focus more on the zone here. They're going to get ahead. So they use that little bit of distraction, downtime, and chaos to get ahead of the zone here. It's probably still going to convert if they can get to the zone first and then turn the battle back around.
Depends on how fast the storm is moving on this edge. They are closer to the short side, so it's moving slower. But yeah, you have a chance maybe for a pickup there, but I think, like you're saying, in that moment they say, yeah, we got the knock, we could push for it, but placement at this point probably more important. You're looking at 26 trios remaining. You don't get the placement points until top 15, and even then, it's only 3. So right now, pushing into the storm, getting to safe, very, very important. You want to try and make it to that top 15 as early as possible. Get to a safe spot so you can sit and wait.
You saw a little bit of a storm surge warning there as we're approaching Zone 3. You have to be cautious when there's over 70 players to the Zone 3 ratio. Storm surge will start to tick, so there's only one trio probably affected right now. This trio here is completely safe, 105 damage above. But anything can happen. They can get pushed by the wrong ones. The other team can jump into a fight. So
at this point, only one player needs to go down, too, and we might actually find it. There it is. What a snipe. FHD looking back to the east over there. Quick little flick, a 157 body shot. They're going to try and apply pressure. The teammate up top trying to secure, maybe get a chance for revive. Stinks.
They actually used a lot of resource just to try and keep that player safe right there. He chucked back the zap trap and the stink, so using all, if not most, of their throwables right there just to hold the power squad down here in the factory area. And this is the second time now they've caught a knock, and they haven't quite, sieged the moment. Very patient. Will it bite them in the butt later on, though?
Honestly, I think that's the smartest play, because you see right now, all three of those players up on the hill are stacked up next to each other, and they may have seen, because you had people that were rotating in, I believe that's southeast of the little factory area they're in right now. So they get the knock, yeah, but you're down below. Your only option basically is to try and take shots on the structure and get the knockdown player exposed and immediately eliminate. If you don't get that player's crawling back and using the line of sight on the hill. Plus you have other people that they're going to see that and a chance for third party. I would rather see these players do exactly what they're doing right now and sit inside the build, do all the wall replaces, and wait just a minute, because what might happen, and you see on your minimap, that almost is the call there, that trio, the one that they got the knock on, there's a team further outside. They're going to get pressure from the back. They have a chance to sandwich. That might be eliminations that they can pick up later rather than applying pressure and maybe getting third party themselves.
I almost also want to say, though, that's the same team as Dunn got sniped twice by FHD, so he's a magnet for the heavy sniper. Got to be careful, buddy.
Little rivalry
tuck
building
the
up there.
head down. You got to duck. Careful on the peaks here, but NM7. Teams are collapsing everywhere. Minute left. And he catches another one right in the tail. Aziz TV is going to go down, and this time they are not safe. He says it's time to battle. They want to push this through with less than a minute on the rotation here. In comes the stinkers. The heavy snipe cracks open the wall, and there is a team nearby. They can hear the shots. They're looking over if you look at your map, but they're going for safety instead. It's a long rotation.
Around. You see those two trios in the southeast side. They're rotating around trying to get in the safe zone. Meanwhile, these two teams that have literally fought each other time and time again now are finally applying pressure. NM7 with a build-up, trying to get the high ground. Not going to be able to do it just yet. Going to wait just a moment. Doesn't want to get pushed too far in on that trio without his teammates at his back. One elimination currently, but if the pressure is good and gets a better position, might be able to convert that into another 3. We'll see here in a second. Shots from inside the safe zone. They're just at the edge. And there are so many teams so close together. 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe 5 trios within probably 50 meters of each other right there.
And Aziz and his trio is actually really lucky. Aziz was traded out, but that duo, what was left of the trio, managed to squeak away here. Heavy snipe returns. He hits another one. FHD is on fire right now with the shot. So you can see here, this team is scary with a double heavy sniper. They're loaded up right now. Here comes the focus fire.
A trio focus fire is big, but FHD pays the price. Another team up behind. This is what I was saying. 5 trios in one, like basically 150-meter circle is so tough, because as soon as you start spraying on one, everyone's going to look at you and say, you're exposed right now, and you're not looking at me. It might be the time to take a shot. Imagine if instead of AR spray, that was a heavy snipe. That could have been an immediate knock, and then suddenly the tables are turned on this team for power.
That's right, but it's okay. Power has plenty of heals to spare here. You saw he did manage to pop 2 big pots right there, so the squad kind of hooking him up. They still have 6 chug splashes. They have, slurps for the road. They're very, very set up right now.
With how close together they are to other teams, I'm surprised they're not using... They have 11 chug splashes. Use even just one of those just to top off one player and get your last one to only 5 HP missing, because if you're in a bad spot and you start getting beamed, you're going to want every single HP that you can get. Oh, the double snipe, double heavy. Here we go. Looking for it. Finds the first one. Beams, and not side goes down. Straight into the launch pad to rotate into the circle. This trio's playing very, very well.
Notsai should have known better than to sit still in a 1-by-1. That is one of the risks you take, especially in trios. There's way too many eyes focused on the field here. There's no way you can sit still in a box. That's the price you pay right there. FHD, Janssen, NM7 doing a fantastic job right now holding the server down. Really, they're dictating the pace right here with all pressure, all fire coming in. This is the most active trio we've seen so far in the server.
The east side of the map basically belongs to them thus far. There is that team. You saw them look up above on top of the hill looking down. You got to be very careful on the angles. Would not be surprised if there's a chance shots come down from the top. NM7 getting shot. Team from NES over there. Looking back, one tap just past them. You look very top middle of your screen. That's the team I was talking about. They're all the way up top. They have a zip. They have height advantage. The little window peak on the brick wall that's edited right there, just out of screen now. You also down in Happy Hamlet have Minzu, Moon, and Kinji. The ultimate high ground down here. Number of teams underneath.
This is actually a fantastic loadout as well. 6 shockwaves, 2 shield bubbles. They're set up so pretty up here. Nice little headshot right there from Kinji's gonna put some hurting on that team right there. They do have a heavy snipe to crack open the build as well. Stink, someone tries to take that high ground. He's gonna eat a couple of bullets for the sandwich right there as Sultan goes down by Kinji. Nice reaction speed right there. That shockwave play was not the one to do.
A valiant effort, but did land right in the middle of a trio, all kid of the teeth. Kinji has that shield bubble out. Looking to potentially make a rotation soon. We'll have to see here. I almost want to see one of these players toss it straight up, knock it down onto their own head, and make a move with it at the same time.
So he puts the bubble down so that their pad doesn't get taken out. So he says he's gonna set that up for the safety measure right there, and just like that, they are able to skate away and get to the next safe zone here. Nice long rotation, perfect launch pad. Not a single one of their teammate was affected or shot on that rotation right there. So that was a very clean pad away.
See power still solid right there. Toggle, Eska.
Another player from one tap's gonna get taken out right there. Toggle's chucking in all of the grenades right here. Flexi goes down. Iki gets taken out right there, and he catches another knock. That's a triple knock with the grenades right here. He's just letting them go.
But grenades are pretty good, especially when you have so many players stacked together. You have your teammates spray down the walls where you're tossing those things.
And just look at the map. They're all in the same spot, so naturally you're going to hit someone.
We're about to get into placement points here. Just before we cut, we have 16. There you go, 16 trios remaining. As soon as we get to top 15, everybody picks up a set of points, 34 players total, which means a lot of these trios are no longer trios. You have quite a few single or duo players left at this point as the feed's still lighting up. Players are now forced to the northwest side.
Oh, I see. It looks like they're setting up a shockwave, right? Are they trying to set up the perfect shockwave kind of play here, angling the structures?
Craftsmanship is key, just as a reminder.
It's important to set it up properly so that everyone can get on out, but it looks like there's no time left.
No time.
They're just going to have to go ahead and throw it down. It's going to be a very scuffed shockwave here. But
honestly, that's not bad.
Off. Yeah.
Sigil with a big move there, landed literally in a set of builds already, and there's edits set up. He now has a bubble shield to protect. He can look back and try and help his teammates if he needs to, or make a move here. He's going to try and build up to his duo.
And Eska does get taken out there, so Toggle is going to get in a little bit of a 1v1 right here. Someone with a box battle is trying to look for that replace wall. You have to wait for it. Nice shot. Noor's going to eat the big pump to the face right there. He's going to put him right down. There was nothing he can do. He kind of asked for it.
Literally just waiting. Just waiting for the edit. You know it's going to happen. Just wait for the edit. It's boxed in. Going to have to try and get ahead of this storm. Down to 13 HP. Traps down. He does have the splashes, but it is not enough. That trio goes down, looks like in 13th place. 12 trios remaining as the rest of the field shockwaves, tarps, and launch pads towards the next safe zone.
And now we're looking at the end game, Zone 7 here. You have your teams already situated up in the high ground. Shockwaves are already flying all around you here. Power, NM7, we're jumping back in. We saw land some ridiculous snipes earlier today. He does still have that heavy sniper. Someone is going to sneak up behind him, but they have a nice little pinch right there. Great white shot right there. Doc Lupo, he catches Anatomy with a quick cleanup and quick reaction speed right there. It's actually 2 that fall down to them. And they're still a full trio.
Big hit. Quick little splash to Put another 20 across the board. All 3 teammates sharing that heal.
Great
Excellent
job.
call. These
Great
rotations
job.
in, trying to get these quick edits and try and tarp while your teammates are still with you.
He's out of
And
mats.
healing, that's big. Yeah, no mats left. NM7 is empty now. They're going to have to trade off who's doing what on the team. Still making moves, though. Bubble shield there. Plus, the zone is right at their back. Player dropping in, same floor behind, rotating out in the storm, trying to stay safe, but can't quite find it. Back into the safe zone here as NM7's looking back. This is a great opportunity. If he had held that for maybe 2 or 3 more seconds, he might have had another shot on the player that did get the knockdown underneath. Big movement into the safe zone is key here, but he's only sitting on 3 builds. Got 3 metal builds remaining. 9 points, and there's six trios left to trap behind, just in case somebody tries to drop down in, but it does get broken. Player underneath. It is basically chaos at this point.
And then
Make a
Sayer
move
is the
forward.
absolute slayer so far. Oh, but he is going to get chipped down right there as Minzu takes him out. We've been following Minzu, Yonks, and FHD for all these players for so long now. This is looking like the toe-to-toe right here. Minzu on YouTube. Boxfighter, Moon, and Kinji all have the high ground right here. They have stinkers, they have explodes. They're set up for success right now. Here comes a quick edit. Minzu's trying to get this peek right here. Is he going to be able to connect? No, the shockwave pushes him out. In comes the firing. He doesn't have time to push all the way through. It's going down. Somehow, they close out by staying alive just long enough. The shots, the Yonks were holding it down, actually trading the shots. The shockwave was perfect.
Minzu's trio went from the only full team left to both players knocked and Minzu in the storm because of a single shockwave so fast. I think nobody on that team saw that coming. Absolutely ridiculous. Last couple seconds there. Now, just to take a look back and really give us some details. We got Shy Wager out in the studio. What do you got, Shy?
Heck yeah, these guys had the power, they brought the force and cleaned out the game even at the worst circumstance possible. Even throughout the game, we saw double heavy snipes. We saw so many cool utilizing mechanics being used across internationally, which is huge because, you know, Lupo and Monster had a conversation. Are these guys caught up? Do they have enough time? Is everything, you know, in place for this region to be at the top spot next to EU, NA, right? We have this breakdown of a little bit of separation in the middle. We have NA West, EU, Brazil, as well as NA East, and they're all in that big top 8 region. But we have these top 4s. The first time Team and ME on the board, these games actually broadcasted as well. We can see people now becoming stars, right? We could have the next insane, calmer, clutch individual mongrel, but, you know, international across the season, a different time zone, playing his own type of metagame, his own type of strats being dropped down from height, going upwards, downwards, everywhere around the entire server. So it's really cool seeing how a new region develops and exactly where they actually place themselves in the timeline of exactly how their skills are, how their build fighting metagame is, what they try to do on height afterwards. A pattern we saw in the first EU games where, hey, if MMB have height, everyone below them, no shields at all. Every tag, it's a headshot from a Scar. It's an easy 72 white damage tag that usually gets them that elim at the end. Middle East, same way. We're going to break it down in just a second, but there's an entire type of shifted metagame where it's kind of those early Season 3, Season 4 tendencies combined with the knowledge you have at the end types of, you know, Season 8, Season 9 end games where, you know, you're rotating, you're tarping, you're saving your items. At the same time, early game, you're using them immediately. No thought whatsoever. You have everything on your board, you have your inventory, you know exactly what your teammates have, the comms are nice, everything's on the plate, ready to go, ready to get feasted on. So Middle East right now for me is just, is really nice. We're gonna be going into a clip actually of an early game, I believe, Happy Hamlet game. We're gonna dive in with Kinzel, I believe. We'll see how he plays out. Actually, no, this is a power clip. There we go. Kinji up in Happy Hamlet. It's going to be really dope to see him actually cut out Forest team on height. We talk about the metagame, right? When Shockwaves first got introduced, it was a straight pump or combat shot upwards. It took people time to get used to that AR spray. He has it in his inventory already. These guys are caught up. They know. Ramp edits, practicing creative, right? Very ingenuitive. A lot of ingenuity there, as well as wall replacing for protection. It's not raw gameplay. It's actually curated practice, and they're brand new to the actual international scene, which is amazing. You know, baiting your teammates out for HP, going for finishes. Even support players like Moon know exactly what to do. Now, the star trio that won that previous game, Power FHD, knowing how to use and take angles properly. Has traps in front of him, doesn't matter. Knows to stay for those right-hand peeks, knows when to engage. Low HP, still does not matter. No pressure temperature taken because these guys have practiced. This is not their first rundown, but it is their first showdown of exactly what they can do, right? No Max here has the elims, low health, still knows exactly when to look up, what to loot, when to use your utility, and when to support your teammate and still have a presence in the game, which is once again something players learned a lot later. So these guys are caught up with the meta game. They do know how to finish off. They know their exact win conditions as well and when to drop them through. Amazing gameplay. We're going to now tune in and see what else they can do on the Middle East. I'm going to be piking it up with my man Zeke coming in. We're both going to hit that cast. We're going to see exactly how these guys go down. We'll relive that breakdown actually together live. Zeke, what did you think about their presence compared to the rest of the international regions?
Man, I think we still have quite a bit more to see from this region. I think you did an amazing breakdown there. I think the ceiling for ME is still very high. We haven't quite seen what they're fully capable of, but I think over the weekend, we'll definitely see it. I'm also excited that we get to finally hang out, Shy Wager and Zeke. Chic. We have come together. That was great. Actually, that is a true thing of the game. But anyway, the games are ready. Let's hop right in, Fortnite fam. We're jumping out the battle bus. We're going to begin this game. I can't wait to see what happens here in this game. Because remember, these happened over this morning. Earlier on, while everyone wants to sleep, including myself, I slept like a baby. It's kind of. It's not entirely true. But anyway, we're getting into it. We can see now where people are trying to land early. So, I mean, you know, you've got the Pleasant there. You've got a team of Junk. The old Villain Factory. You've got some at Snobby. Some flying even over Greasy. There's still quite a bit of teams, though, still that are airborne.
Yeah, so one thing you mentioned earlier, Zeke, was the whole idea of these games happened this morning, right? For me, chewing gum, you leave it out on the table untouched, still good to eat later in the day. There's so much flavor in these games we have yet to see. No, seriously, man. Like, once again, we're tuning with power. Hey, look at this pattern, right? I kind of, you know, went to the FHD/Mongrel comparison. These guys are in retail. Mongrel's in retail. You know, we had Monster, Lupo, saying these guys have been waiting for a long time, right? There's so many VODs they've been watching. They have the knowledge, man. They have the power.
Yeah, and now look, they land over here on the, what do we like to call this? The top side is blacktop. So
residential.
This is residential.
Yeah,
there we go. I literally came up with it as you were saying. What's wrong with me today? But they are on the residential side, which is good. I personally, and this just might be like my thinking, but I feel like the loot's a little better on residential side than blacktops. Would you agree? Or do you think it's the other way around?
I think that there's more, there's sparser loot on the blacktop side. We're looking at Tilted right now, but I'm going to keep talking about what we saw in retail. There is sparser loot on the blacktop side, but like residential does have, I think, more drop spots on the floor loot. But, you know, we got those bendings on blacktops, and you have more of a horizontal advantage on everyone you see. Yeah. So it's a lot easier to kind of, you know, pick a game plan on blacktops. With residential, you kind of have to all in all the time. Yeah. Because if you do get engaged on, like, once again, you're all in, right? We see it in OCE, X2 Twins. They always end up having a fight, some type of highlight. It's really cool. Right now, though, you know, Lupo and Monster went over Tilted Town, the advantages, disadvantages of building and not building. What are your how do you think player opinion has been of Tilted Town from the beginning to the end of how people treat the job?
I think originally people were maybe a little taken off guard by the fact that you could not build in Tilted Town. It was like, wait, but the whole thing is that you have to build and whatnot. And it's like, well, yeah, that's still a very big aspect of the game. But now there is a POI dedicated to you testing your shooting skills, right? How good are your angles and your peaks? How good are your rifling skills or even your close quarter combat skills? And that's what Tilted offers in its current state. But we're back on board with the Power Trio, the Trio of Power. They have themselves a Brute. They are looking to take it to this other Brute across the way, Shy. Now, what's crazy here is, remember, they have these laser designators. So the other Brute's fully aware. They're like, hey, there's another one. They're moving toward us. We need to try and take this down. But Power's on 18 effective HP. And it's just not enough. It's so easy to be focused down in the Brute right now. So unfortunately, FHE is going to go down. And I don't think there's anything else the other duo can do about this, right? They just kind of have to let him go down and regroup and assess the situation. NM7 does have the sniper, so if he can get a cheeky shot off, he can down someone immediately. But, like, look, the other Brute spawned like, no, friend. We're going to hunt you down. Don't worry. Don't get too far.
No, absolutely. Like, brute combat is one thing that also has its own metagame, and like these guys know too, right? Focus the driver 100%. Usually the people you put into the brute early game are those who don't have the same amount of loot. We're looking at a pump, tac SMG, gold sniper on NM7. But FHD, all you have are zapper traps, a bunch of gray items, very easily focusable. And right now, you know, their enemy team is big and hard focused. I'm pretty sure it's the ASMR guys, Spy and Wagner. These guys are just coming in with a big brute of their own, forcing through straight up, gaining all the loot as well. One big thing about having a brute in retail, it's like butter on toast. Perfect combination, even jam on toast, anything but mayo. You get these loot spawners so much faster with the stomp mechanic as well as the rockets. Granted that they were nerfed at one point, you still have so much damage to instantly just get these launches over and over again. The biggest downside to retail being you spend so much time in there, right? You negate that, you have the perfect setup entirely in the whole game.
Yeah, and then you can kind of take that brute into later game and use that to kind of mess with other trios out there. I like this too. The ASMR trio, ASMR, they're quiet. They are in the brute right now. They are destroying base spawner. Shy, what is the loot pool looking like if you sat there and retail and destroyed all the loot spawners?
I personally think that a lot of launch pads, a lot of campfires, and a lot of ARs everywhere for you, including pumps.
I like that very much. But now we are across the way because look at this, Minzu and Kinji. This trio, we saw an absurd amount of snipes last game. Now, many of them they couldn't follow up on just based on where they were, but look at this. He drops down and he gets counter dropped. That is a zapper. He's got to be careful. It's okay. All right, I thought that wasn't Moon. I saw a second shot from the right, and I was like, if that is this enemy trio, like, Minzu's going to be eliminated. There's nothing they can do, but it's okay. Moon was there. He had the assist, and look at the loadout. It's just shining array of colors.
Yeah, Happy Hamlet, I broke it down in one of the job shop breakdowns. Vendings galore, so many chests, right? You eliminate as much of the loot pool as possible to what you need to keep looting over and over again. You know, loot drops, chest spawns, every vending that's available to you as well. You get to pick and choose what you want. You use it in the fight as well really fast if there's just one other team contesting you. Looks like these guys are the kings of Happy all the way in the Middle East, which is huge. We have now two big things as well that a lot of people don't realize in the game is when you have kings of a drop spot clash against each other, you don't really see where people come from, right, in the end game when they're on height. But now that we know that we have the ASMR boys having all of retail, we have this rainbow loadout on every single person from Happy, we can now see the storyline build up all the way to the end game of these two star trios at the moment in this game. Yeah, I mean, these guys are looking very, very good, but look who else is here. We've got two trios just in front. There is one player from a trio left in Old Yonder, and there's a trio making their way over a hill by that long ravine there. Okay, so it's Sazerin there, who's by himself. I'm not sure what he's still doing there. It looks like he might just be crouched, just potentially trying to loot there. You got Simar, JD, and Cake Park, Dash? Cake Pack, Dash. I like that. I like that. I do enjoy some cake as well. But now they just get to kind of walk into Old Yonder. I mean, there's obviously going to be no loot. They could farm up for materials if they wanted. All right, I'd take that back. There was one piece of loot, which was just the ammo box. My apologies. Didn't see it. But now they're right here on the edge of Storm, right? Yeah. Of the new safe zone. So they're probably feeling pretty comfortable because they do even have a shockwave, which look like they have a shockwave apiece, and they even have a jump pad, the launch pad to get them to safety. So it's all going their way here in the early game. Yeah, there's an absolute skirmish all the way in the snow side. We've kind of seen things develop, I guess even in Middle East as well. A lot of the people like to land split. They like to be up in the air. So to set a stage for you, Zeke, it's always just, you know, a bunch of people playing desperate with a bunch of trios that have already finished their fights. So you can imagine, you know, how scared people are split off. You can see exactly how they rotate it in. And you do see a little bit more survivability coming out of snow side towards the bones over here, towards the big monster skull. But at the same time, there is, you know, those mid-game fights that do break down at times. Right now, we don't see any. We can drop into just seeing the options that Toggle has now to move towards, I guess it's the desert biome, towards the bottom. Yeah, I mean, there's still so many players left. 75 and 26 of 31 trios left. Don't forget, we want to hit top 12 before we start seeing any placement points at all. And we're right now in Storm Circle 2. So there's still so many players that have to be eliminated before this end game, right? I mean, I don't imagine we'll see like Storm Circle 750 people left, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did see that. There's still so much that can happen in this game.
I'm curious to see what's happening back at retail. You know, we saw that trio, the ASMR trio. They're pretty looted, and I'd assume with that Brute, like, they probably cleared retail, like, super, super fast. I want to know where they went, because right now, even, like, Seagull, Tago, and Eska, they have no eliminations. Their loadouts, it's not shambles, but it's, like, borderline shambles, I would say.
It's 100% shambles if it's a big zone, but you touched on it a little bit, right? Eliminations. When do you actually really want them? What is your win condition? So what would you say if you had shield bubbles and shockwaves, the different options people have towards the middle or end game that they can use to actually, you know, come through for elims or play for placement?
That's a good question. That's tough. I think it depends on, because like everyone knows what heat they're in, so you know who, if you're paying attention and you're doing your homework like you should be, you know the other people in your heats. You know potentially where they're going to look to land. So like if I'm this trio, I'm not going anywhere near retail, right? Because we already know ASMR trio is there, and we even saw the power trio as well. So I mean, right now they're near Salty, which it doesn't look like, looking at the minimap, no one's there. Everyone's already rotated out, right? They're trying to get themselves into safe zone. Looking at, actually, on the top left, you could kind of see, so right now, look, they're just on the outside making their way in. So we're back on power, and looks like it's just Yonks by himself. This is a brutal spot to be in. He probably definitely does not have their cards. They're not getting rebooted. There's no way. So right now, Yonks just has to do anything he can. I mean, I'd imagine he's probably wanting to play slow, right? He's like, look, if I can even just play for placement and get us those points, if he can find an awesome pick, great, but that's just like backseat. Right now, it's survival mode.
Yeah, the worst sound anyone could have heard from him on the server for his situation is that shield break sound. The whole you know, desynchronization of the shield. So right now, he's worried. He knows trios around him know that he's worried. His entire plan at the moment is to use, you see, half his loadout's already gone, right? We talked about when to use your loadout, when is your win condition, do you want elims? You said it, Zeke, it's full survivability at the moment, and Yonks has to go to the Bronx and even further now to even win the game, right? Like, 0 elims, the easiest thing to do, right? Getting 3 points for eliminations is 3 separate fights. A lot of mats used there, right? A lot of gun skill required, a lot of brains required in the fight against 3 other people. But if you separate it into entities on the map, right, you only have a maximum of 31 trios on the map, 31, 33. So in this game specifically, I think we're at 26 out of 31. We're kind of far from placement, but separating it into just looking at singular entities moving around the map and playing placement that way, right? Using your mats against one entity rather than 3 separate ones in a fight. You can then kind of, you know, segment out your loot, your minis, your mobility, and actually get further and get 3 points without getting insane frags in an actual fight.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I hadn't considered that. That's pretty dope, but I mean, it's tough, right? Like, I want to be hopeful for Yonks in this game. And what's different is, like, during qualifiers, you know, you had kind of 10 games and you had 3-hour window. So, like, if you were in this situation, you could say, look, I'm just going to run into a team and hope for the best. And even if I was eliminated, it's fine. We're just going to hop back into another game. But these are heats, right? So, like, right now, everything is on the shoulder of Yonks, right? Because we're going a full game at a time. So Yonks just can't say, all right, let's just let this game be our wash. Like, no, he actually has to sit here and try. And, I mean, if I'm FHD, if I'm NM7, I'm sitting there, like, looking out for him, like, right, you've got a team here, you've got a team there. Like, just try and keep yourself positive. Because, like, for me personally, if I was in this situation, it would be so stressful.
Yeah.
But these are the very best of the best. They're here for a reason. As I say that, Caster Curse in full effect. I finished my sentence and Yonks gets picked up. It's okay. All they have to do is go back in, let that game wash over, and prepare themselves for this next game. Well, for them, these games already wrapped up overnight, so hopefully for the next game, he steeled himself, you know, at least hopefully.
Yeah, you touched on it a little bit. This is really, it's going to be a weird analogy, so I segue, but bear with me here, right? You said the game was on Yonks' shoulders, right? In cartoons, you usually have like an angel or a devil on your shoulders, right?
Okay.
To break it down for people trying to clutch up in that situation, replace the angel and devil with your win conditions, right? Am I looking for free elims rotating? Am I looking to play safe? And every time you see one of your shoulders kind of ding, that's what you have to play for. You have to suppress all the other easy stuff you see. Maybe there's a free heavy snipe you can take, right? At the same time, that exposes you, right? Your whole full shoulder is not lit up there. You got to play at the side of the angel. So if you're trying to learn how to get in the clutch situations, trying to learn exactly how to rotate in the game, what is right, what is wrong, segment it out, wait for the proper shoulder to light up, and that's an easy way, right? Right there, Yonks, the mistake he made, he kind of chose the devil shoulder. He saw free tags for rotation. He knows he needs elims because he has 0, but in doing that, he brought the full force of an entire trio out, right? He talked about entities. He turned a full 1 entity he could just block with mats to 3 people to face 3 separate AR shots. He got erased from the server.
Man, that's so dope.
Yeah.
See, Shy Wager dropping these knowledge bombs and making my inner child who loves Looney Tunes just so happy right now. I appreciate that, Shy. That was very nice. It's very well explained.
Thank you, man. Thank you, thank you. Now we're looking at an entire different scenario. Sadig, I've actually seen this guy have some amazing highlights in game and actually clutch it out in the Middle East server, sometimes topping the charts of our top plays of the week. Currently, he's going to be leading an actual trio. We're actually on Rampage's perspective right now, but these guys are absolutely raw when it comes to just taking those free aim duels, just engaging on fights and following up with stuff. Right now, I've never seen more stink tags from one stink on an entire trio. Eska goes down. We saw Eska last game as well as rotating earlier. Now, they're very set on loot, but once again, they know that win condition, right? Even if you're not solo, as a trio, what shoulder is dinging? I got a knock, okay, stink follows up, right? That's how you have that whole momentum process, you have it planned out. You just got to look for the right pings to follow through.
And if they had some kind of mobility, I would imagine they probably would have gone in and cleaned up this trio, right? Because they got so many tags, like you're saying. Once that stink came out, it was giving 2 damage numbers, and they were taking pretty much the entirety of that cloud. You know they're on low HP. So at least one of those guys is dropped really, really low, unless they have something and they're burning resources like splashes, a slurp, even a med kit or bandages. Like, you know they're burning through materials to try and get there. I'm glad that they were able to say, look, we're not going to follow up. We could either tarp all the way over there and we burn a bunch of materials. They hear us coming and they're ready to react. Or you just say, like, you know what, we got them to use their stuff.
See, now you're on that shoulder wavelength now. You know exactly what's right.
I got it,
yeah.
see? There you go.
So now you can point that out every time you see it. That is literally the explanation of what win conditions are and how to follow up things in the inventory, right? A lot of people used to hate stinks. They realized that, people randomly stink me all the time. That's kind of when they first came out, right? People didn't actually know how to follow up with them. But now we still have 4 stinks in Rampage's box. He's ran through how many trios beside them, right? He's not throwing them for no willy-dilly reason whatsoever, right? He's using them in response with explosives and in response with a knock. They're complementary items that aren't as griefy anymore, but actually strategically used to, shake up an entire trio and not just have them box up the entire time when someone else actually has an advantage to push on them with.
Man, that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. Plus, I mean, if you are this trio, you probably want to save as many stinks for late game as possible, right? Because once the storm does start to shrink, super, small, those stinks become more and more valuable because then you're just like blanketing an entire tarp. And you're saying as long as you guys are trying to get to safety, you're going to be taking 5 ticks, so you guys can hold that L. But at the same time, like, their loot isn't great, right? Like, it's probably mid-game centric, which is fine, but now we're starting to move into that late game, so they want to try and find another trio to get their loot and kind of propel them forward. Because, like, you've got the green pump, sure. You've got the long range in the air, sure. 4 splashes, awesome, but, like, those aren't power weapons. Those aren't a heavy side that you can just punch a hole in anyone's 1x1. That isn't nades or splodes that you could potentially use to pick up these eliminations. And look, the power duo right now by themselves, they're just chilling and they have got the attention of Sidig and Rampage.
Yep, not to be confused with the other power trio that we saw go down. There are multiple players and many different organizations that are playing across all the regions and in the same region as well.
Yep.
These guys are still alive. Looks like they have one person. They might have a full trio actually. Yep, looks like 90's there with them as well. You actually touched on a very cool aspect I want to touch on as well. You talked about loadouts and endgame and the map, right? I'm really glad you brought that up because the later the game goes, the less space there is on the map, the more your loadout actually pumps out and matters, right? A green pump and blue pump difference is huge in mid-game fights. But when that circle is small and you're riding Storm, that's where even just having a gray AR for a follow-up matters. There's not that much separation between, you want to have a spray weapon. So you got an amazing breakdown, kind of these win conditions get so much more diverse throughout the game as they keep going, and the zone gets smaller. So that was a really cool breakdown.
Hey,
I like that a lot.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
Let's
you.
go.
Man, this is the first time we're hanging out, and we get to freaking dig our brains together. I love it.
Yeah, it's nice.
Here we go. The different alter ego, Namfu, Mev, and Ego here, Dennis. So not the alter ego trio we're used to seeing more of their comrades, and they're on 5 eliminations. You know, they're in top 20 right now, which is huge. If they play for another 8 trios, they're going to get themselves placement points. Now their loadout's looking real good. They just picked up a minigun, which is huge. They have 3 stinks, an RPG, a blue pump, splashes as well. They've got materials almost 150, almost fully capped out. These guys are looking real good. So now this is going to go back to your shoulder dinks, right? What are you looking to play for? And right now, as the storm comes in, you're looking to get these tags, right? Anyone's like, oh, the storm's literally on my back, time to start moving. Those are those people that these guys are looking to pick up if possible. They're also on the low ground tarp, which is going to kind of shape kind of how they're going to be forced to engage people coming up here shortly.
Yeah, these guys are 100% playing the horizontal game. As you said, low ground tarp means you cannot go lower at all. Means that you are fighting for your lair 24/7. The reason people love having mid ground so much is because they can actually move, as you can see, up, down, left, and right. They have an entire new axis they can operate on. But low ground does have its perks, as you saw. Ultimately, no matter what, you end up on the dirt when you're moving around the map, right? If you're not on your builds. So plays like that where you force people down with a trap, they can't move anywhere past you. So they have to interact with you. So owning this lair, although it is the hardest, ultimate low and ultimate height most of the time, it does have some of the most rewarding things because, A, you never need to place floors when you're ultimate low, right?
Save materials that way.
Exactly. You know exactly where your elims are coming from because they're all usually above you or behind you in storm. You're never going to be challenged from the bottom or diagonally from the bottom at all. You basically have very good camera control around your entire horizontal axis, as well as just looking up slightly to just see what's happening on your floors and if any RPGs are coming down straight up above you. So it's actually not bad to control ultimate low. The only issue being that is everyone's desperation play to go to randomly when they are at the end of the game, right? It's like, hey, I'm in trouble, gotta drop low. So there's so much to take account of on that horizontal plane, it gets hard. Now we're looking at a 6-zone rotation. This is where the action and the meat of the game comes in. The first placement point getting dropped, top 12 now, 34 people alive. Zeke, the heals are still there, so is an RPG. What does that mean for their end game?
I mean, right now they want to try and challenge for high ground and get the highest tarp possible and then start raining those RPGs down. And look at this, 700 rounds in that minigun. Dennis wants to try and apply pressure to everyone. It doesn't matter where they are. He wants to use that minigun and try and put them off edge because now look, he's going for height, which is smart, and they actually got it. This is going to be great for them. They can rain down those shots, and everyone that's on those lower ground tarps, though they had the advantage of being lower, now they have to worry about this constant minigun pressure from above on top of people on your tarp, people below you, people also using other types of explodes. Are there stinks in play? There's so many more things that they don't have to worry about being on that high ground tarp. And now they're just saying, yep, everyone down below, just keep worrying. No, it's fine. This minigun, there you go. Spammy, oops, sorry, Spammy. You just got picked up on the crossfire, right? Like,
Spammy gets spammed.
He got spammed. I like it. But, I mean, right now, if you're everyone down below, I mean, first of all, let's talk about their HP. Super non-existent. Fiesel's there. The other alter ego, is he going to go down? I'm not sure. There was one of the ASMR trios. Top 8, we get another round of placement points. There you go. And now this is just going to be on this alter ego duo and Dennis to try and close out the game. No one's even contested him, by the way. This is the first RPG we've seen go out. So now they're saying, great, everyone else is down below is fought. They're all super low. Let's start using our resources, start trying to burn people down.
Yeah, these guys have that default split broken down as well. Dennis on top while Mev and Namfu are at the bottom, making sure that even if there are shockwaves, right, people have learned, they've played around them. Right now, minigun sprays coming down. People have saved their hard mats for this end game, but in doing so, they might have taken tags through their wood moving around in the mid game. Those tags will prove crucial because every minigun shot is 20 to 25 damage on the person straight through their builds. Right now, it's just an easy beam, an easy spray from high ground. We saw Sadig earlier who was controlling one layer of height, ultimately down at the dirt. Klops actually goes down, one of the top trios in the region. Hopefully he makes it through the heats. We will see the standings hopefully at some point. Right now though, Dennis, 4 elims. Mev, another 4. We have a total of 11 elims on this trio at the moment with more to come. There is a top 2 spot available for placement. That minigun is not stopping. All the time they could use for rotating and making sure their builds are fine. They don't need to because they're height. They use it on pressure. gets all the way down the low ground. Siddiq gets that big knot, and Kappa, no joke, this time he gets taken out. Then it's the whole trio surviving all the way back to retail where we started. What a lore and eventful game, Zeke.
That was so much fun. Don't forget, though, that means that Hero Kappa there was, don't forget he's on Klopp's and Fiesel's team, so placing second is 12 points. So the last team, good on you. But now we're going to send it back into the studio with Dr. Lupo. What you got for us?
Zeke, Shine, thank you very much. It's interesting to see how, over time, we've seen a lot of other regions build up around different competitive metas. And now that the Middle East finally has their shot, things are a little different than I think we've expected. We've seen from other regions in the past. It's excellent to see the competitive nature of these Middle East players. And Sundown, what do you think so far?
It's been really good. I mean, honestly, a lot of what we expected, the teams who have been up on that leaderboard consistently pushing into really the top 5 in the top 10, they've been up there in our predictions. They all advanced through to tomorrow, and we've seen kind of the disciplined gameplay where people are stacking on their teammates, relying on it, and playing for the late game, doing everything they can to try and avoid those early and mid-game fracas, to avoid kind of those big sharks who are running around looking for the elims and get into those late game scenarios. But I know there are a couple plays you wanted to take a look at specifically here.
Very specifically indeed. Now, production prepared a little package for us, specifically, I believe, around Alter Ego MEV. We're going to take a look at that real quick. Let's jump right into it. This wall, absolutely ridiculous. Now, as you were saying, a lot of the team fire stacking on top of each other and taking shots at players in opportunity positions like this gets quick pickup on Teddies, and it doesn't stop there. You have players rotating from the outside of the map, and you'll notice the shots start, MEV takes a couple, and the comms between these players, it immediately becomes a 3-player beam position where they're up above everybody else. The comms will say, hey, guys, right over here, and everybody just the team fire out of nowhere, spraying down on the builds as players are trying to make these rotations, and the RPG shots, an Alter Ego on Alter Ego elimination there in your feed. You hate to see it, but it's communication like that is created, especially in trios. We see it more than in duos or solos, and that's why I'm excited maybe one day squads as well. That team fire is so powerful. Even in a position where you're going to get third party from another team rotating in. We've seen it in a couple of games so far in the Middle East today. You'll have team fire positions, but the pinch from either side. But you have all 3 players taking shots simultaneously on 1 or 2 walls. It's so powerful that not even all the builds in the world can save you from that. And that's putting these players in spots where not just 1, 2, 3 eliminations on from one trio to another, but maybe the team behind that's pushing in, it feeds into a chain of eliminations that's going to push some of these teams higher up the board than I think any of us expected them to go.
Yeah, and you're seeing that a lot when you have the 3 players who are stacked on top of each other, and then their comms are there. I mean, we joke about MMB like it's really chaotic, but when they all call out, you see, boom, everyone snaps over, and the team fire happens instantly. You're seeing Middle East put off a lot of that right now, but on our end, yes, there are still some issues going on with the matchmaking on Europe side, so we're going to go to a break right now. While we take some on our end, we will have some additional messaging that is coming forward, so don't go anywhere. We're just hanging out. We will have more games going forward. We're going to continue to fill with the Middle East games as we come back. So we're going to dive in a little bit deeper to them, which is something I'm really excited about because a lot of people don't necessarily get the visibility into this region. They don't have the opportunities to really go in and dive into this gameplay and look into what makes Fiesel, Kappa, and Klops so good, or what makes that Sam trio that much better. And